boundaries, healthy boundaries, are essential in maintaining and keeping, or even beginning, a healthy relationship. You can't be someone's doormat and expect them to love you. And respect needs to be earned. You teach people how to treat you, whether you're aware of it or not, right? So it is much better to make good choices and be consciously aware of the boundaries that you're setting in a relationship, because people treat you how you allow them to treat you. Welcome to my Broken to Brave podcast. I'm Donna Barnes. If your partner does something that you don't like, but you don't say anything because you're afraid you might turn them off or push them away, you've just taught them that that's okay with you, and they will continue to do that. And then that's usually how arguments start, because the first time they do something, you don't say anything about it, so they think it's okay. And then they do it again, and you don't say anything again. But now at some point along the way, you blow up about it, and you're really upset that they do that. And they're shocked. They're going, I didn't know you didn't like that. That's on you, because you didn't tell them the first time. And you don't have to be rude about how you say no or how you don't like something. But I think it is very attractive to hold a strong boundary. If the person you're dating does something that you don't like, you can very calmly, in a very nice way, say, hey, can I just tell you, I don't care for that. That makes me uncomfortable, or this is not good for me, or whatever it is that is happening that you don't like. With I statements, if you own it, it's not about what they did, it's about how you feel about it, and set that boundary of, I don't like that. That's how you, first of all, get respect from the person that you're out with, but also get your needs met. We are all responsible for taking care of our own needs. And if your partner doesn't know what you do or don't want or like, then you're not going to get your needs met. Holding healthy boundaries in a relationship is so important, and doing it right from the beginning is really important. Because if you behave one way in the beginning of a relationship, and now you're fully in the relationship, and now you're not that person anymore, you're not behaving that way, your partner's baffled and not interested, most likely. And that's why most relationships only last 3 to 6 months. If from the very beginning, you hold strong boundaries, and if the person that takes you out does something that you don't like, and you say how you don't like it and what you would prefer instead, you're teaching them how to treat you. You'll find you'll be much more successful at relationships. It's very respectful to say, hey, I'm sorry, I don't really care for that. Or that makes me uncomfortable. I really would appreciate it if you wouldn't do that. I statement, making a request, informing them that you don't like it, is essential in having a healthy relationship, because saying no is really hard for a lot of people. People are yes people because it's just easier to say yes, but then now they find themselves doing things that they didn't really want to do because they didn't know how to say no. And if you're with someone that realizes that about you, they'll take advantage of it. I mean, geez, when I was much younger, I had a hard time saying no when I was younger. And this kid at school asked me to the soft hop when I was a sophomore in high school, went to a very large high school, suburbs of Philadelphia. This kid that I really didn't want to go to the prom with asked me to the prom, but I didn't know how to say no. And this other kid used to drive me home from school because he was a senior and he lived near me. And I was good friends with his younger sister. And just, yeah, I felt very comfortable to talk to him. So he was driving me home from school that day. And I said to him, oh my gosh, such and such asked me to the prom. And I didn't know what to say. I was so put on the spot. I was so uncomfortable. I said, yes, but I don't really want to go with him. I don't know what to do. And he turned to me and said, will you go to the senior prom with me? And I had to say yes. But then shortly after that, met my first real boyfriend, actually, who was also a senior in the same school. And he and I were in a relationship. And then at some point, he said something about his prom. And I said, oh, I actually said I'd go with this guy. And he was like, what? You're my girlfriend. No. And my parents, who I very much appreciate, were like, you said you'd go with him. You need to go with him. And it was really a problem. So my whole ridiculous long point is as if, and I did end up going with the boyfriend, right? But the other guy was really not very happy about it, right? My point is, if in the very beginning, when the first guy asked me if I had the boundaries to say, oh, thank you so much, I appreciate you asking me, but unfortunately, no, I can't, would have prevented the entire situation, which is exactly my point. The first time someone does something, you need to teach them that you do or don't like that. Because on the flip side of that, I also really appreciate you enforcing. If someone does something for you that you really like, really enforcing, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That was wonderful. I loved that you did that. I think is very helpful in teaching your partner how to treat you and what you like and don't like. Because look, too, people meet somebody that really sweeps them off their feet and they ignore all sorts of red flags and they put up with stuff that they really don't want to do because they don't want to lose the person. That's a huge mistake. You always, always need to be true to yourself and love yourself first. No matter how crazy you are about somebody, if they do something that you don't like, you need to tell them. And I promise you that is so much more attractive because also too, a lot of people come to me for coaching, women, fabulous women who've been married to largely, but like getting out of a relationship with a narcissist. And you can prevent getting in deep with a narcissist by holding strong boundaries. If a narcissist does something that you don't like and you tell him or her that you don't like it, they're not going to like that. And it might turn them off and they might not want to be with you, but good for you because you just saved yourself an awful lot of heartache that you identified the narcissist. Because a normal person who has the ability to feel empathy, right? Because a narcissist cannot feel empathy, which is why, it's all about them and very nasty relationship to be in, right? They can't feel empathy. They can't really love. But if a person that can feel empathy does something and you tell them they don't like it, their natural response should be, oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you for letting me know, right? Thank you for letting me know is the empathetic response to you saying no to somebody. I think it's a really good clue. The character of your new partner, of how they react to you very calmly with I statements saying no. On a whole host of levels, you need to show healthy boundaries getting into a relationship so that you're making good choices about who you're going to spend the rest of your life with and hopefully avoid getting into toxic relationships. I mean, let's face it, toxic relationship starts because someone's not holding healthy boundaries. If someone's just displaying toxic behavior to you and you're not telling them that you don't care for that or don't like that or that you need them to stop that, they're going to keep doing it. And that's how abusive relationships start. They get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and the abuse gets worse and worse and worse and worse because you taught them that you will put up with that. Even if you're just in a relationship where there's constant arguing. I mean, years ago, I've been very honest about this in my 20s. I was with a guy that we argued constantly. And my friends would say to me, why do you put up with that? And my response was, I don't put up with that. I fight back. But that's not what I'm talking about. That's not healthy boundaries. Engaging and fighting back is a sign of weak boundaries because it is a fighting back. If someone, where that evolved to, because my father used to say to me when I was a kid, because my mother and I used to fight a lot. My father used to say, if you would just shut up, she can't argue with herself. But as a teenager, I was incapable of shutting up. I needed to argue back, right? That's the devil you know, right? I made another video about dating the devil you know. However, at this stage of my life, I don't want to argue. I don't want to be in a relationship that I'm not going to argue back. And if you start an argument with me, I'm going to tell you I don't want to engage in an argument with you. And that I really need you to talk calmly to me and not raise your voice at me. I mean, that's the way to handle that, not to argue back. That just fans the flames, right? It just makes it worse. So you need to diffuse it. And you need to, with I statements, say, hey, look, I'm sorry. I don't want to argue with you. I really don't care for this kind of talk. Can we just take a time out and take a step back and we can talk about this when you're calmer? I mean, part of holding strong boundaries too is just for you to not do things that people ask you to do if it's not something that you want to do. If someone asks you to do something, you need to really weigh, how is this going to affect me? Is this something that I really want to do? Am I compromising my own something or other if I do this now for the other person? That's all part of holding boundaries. The more conscious you can be about declining to do things that you really don't want to do in a loving way, right? But I think the happier you'll be in the long run. Because yes, people say yes to something and then they're frustrated about it, or they end up not following through with it because they didn't really want to say yes in the first place. But then the other person's opinion of you diminishes because you've now not kept your word. But it's all because you didn't say no when they asked you in the first place. So if you just say no in the first place, you don't have to worry about getting out of it later. Because honestly, I came from the entertainment industry where they always, as an actor, young actor, they told you to say yes and worry about it later. And that happened a lot, especially like with commercials and things like that, right? But I think in relationships, that's a huge mistake. No, not say yes and worry about it later. You need to say no as soon as someone asks you something that you know you don't want to do. You have the power if you choose to utilize it in holding healthy boundaries. And it starts by saying no when someone does something that you don't like or wants you to do something that you don't want to do. Tell them no. And then they won't keep asking you and they won't think that it's okay. You can avoid arguments down the road. Right from the very beginning, when you meet somebody, by holding strong boundaries and saying no, you can change the entire tone of the relationship and you'll make better choices about who's a good partner for you and how they respond to you holding strong boundaries and saying no. So I hope you liked my video and send me your comments, and I'm here for coaching if you need coaching, and I'll see you in my next episode. Thanks.